Good morning and welcome to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. We've got somewhat of a different setup today as we tape our show from CW18 and My 24th Family Fest here at Wisconsin's largest shopping center, South Ridge Mall. And of course, we are glad to have a number of celebrities who are stopping by Family Fest to sign autographs, do Q&A sessions, and so much more. It's my pleasure to have here with us former Green Bay Packer and Super Bowl champion, Dr. George Koonce. Give it up for him.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
It's great to have you here, and it's our goal, George, in the next half hour to find out more about George Koonce, the man, and thoughts that you have pertaining to life dealing with football on and off the field.
That'd be great. I think it's a great topic, and I'm looking forward to diving deep into those different challenges and complex issues that one goes through when they're leaving this sport of football or any other job or career of that nature.
Absolutely. You've actually written a book, and it's called Is There Life After Football? So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. We've got a lot to cover.
Yes.
So let's get up. Starting about how you got where you are today. You were born in New Bern, North Carolina, a country boy.
Most definitely. I grew up about 35 miles from the ocean in eastern North Carolina. Went to East Carolina University. It was a dream of mine from 9 years old to play on the largest platform in the world, and that's playing in the National Football League. But my mom told me that the only way you're going to be able to do that, you have to go to college. I came from a very poor neighborhood, a very socially, economically deprived area in New Bern, North Carolina, but I was able to go to college. And I was able to receive a college degree and come to Green Bay, Wisconsin to live out a dream, to live the American dream.
And that you have done. You mentioned you played football from 9 years old, and like so many kids, your dream was to play professional football. And I visit a lot of schools, and of course, you know, you go through the class and you ask the kids what do they want to do or what do they want to be when they grow up. And 7 out of 10 of the boys will say they want to play basketball or football. And then, of course, it's my job to tell them why they have to have a backup plan. And in your opinion, it's important for even those guys who do get the chance to play professional football, they have to have a backup plan as well, right?
Most definitely, because you look at football, the average football career lasts 3.5 years. And a lot of people think that number is kind of bloated. A lot of people say that the average football player plays 1.8 years.
Wow.
So you have to get that college degree because your life away from the sport is going to be way longer than what it was while you were playing. So, you look at the NFL right now, we have about 1,800 players. 60% of them have their college degree, which is good. Yeah. NBA is probably around 8%, hockey around 3%, baseball is low as well, but we know that the rules in coming into the NBA and baseball and hockey is a whole lot different into the National Football League. So we've done a really good job at 60% graduation rate, but they still struggle once they leave the game. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later.
Absolutely. And it's interesting. There are so many players, particularly at one time in different sports, especially basketball, where kids were dropping out of college and going straight to the league. And so that's something, in your opinion, that's not the best idea.
That's not the best idea. Hopefully, I know in the NBA, you have to be 19 years old before you enter into the NBA, but I wish that number was at least 3 years removed from your high school graduation date, and that's the number that they have in the NFL. You have to be 3 years removed from your graduation date before you can enter into the National Football League. And so a lot of guys come in more mature, more developed mentally and physically, and I think it's best for the sport and best for the individual and his families.
Okay, and I think that you serve as a great example as to why one must have a backup plan. So you were signed as an undrafted free agent by the Atlanta Falcons in 1992.
And got cut.
And got cut before the preseason, so you were on a roller coaster ride, so to speak. Like, I made it, I got cut.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It was tough, and one of my good friends that I had a chance to play with in Atlanta, we played against each other when we was in college, and his name was Brett Favre. Brett went to Southern Miss, I went to East Carolina. We used to play against each other. And then when we was together in Atlanta, we used to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner together. Then we ended up coming to Green Bay, played 8 years together. And then I went out to Seattle for a year, but I had a great time with Brett and so many other players.
Absolutely. We're going to have to talk about that. I was going to say, after he got cut from the Falcons, you did go to the World League, and it was also in 1992 that you had the blessing of going to the Packers. So your story a little different than a lot of the guys who get that opportunity and then get cut. You had a second chance.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. I was given an opportunity, and I took advantage of those opportunities. There are so many young kids, young boys, young girls out there that's doing a lot of great things, and they just have to realize that they're going to get an opportunity, and when they get their opportunity, you have to seize the moment, because we're all going to get a chance to live the American dream. But once you get that opportunity, seize it, hold it, and grab onto it, and strive for the best.
Yes, indeed. And we are sitting here with a Super Bowl champion. We've established that. And you played with the Packers from 1992 to 1999. You started 8 of those seasons playing 3 linebacker positions.
Right. They told me when I came into Green Bay that the more you knew, the more you know, the better chance you have of sticking around. So I try to learn as much as I could. I had a lot of great guys to learn from: Johnny Holland, Brian Noble, the great late Reggie White, Leroy Butler, one of my best friends. Had a lot of people that I had a chance to learn from and grow with. And we had a lot of fun in Green Bay. Won a lot of games. Had a chance to win a Super Bowl in 1996, Super Bowl 31, and we went back and the following year.
But it still wasn't a privilege to go back 2 years in a row. But this is the thing. You mentioned these players that you were on the field with. Brett Favre,
right,
one of the greatest in NFL history. The late Reggie White. You played with Leroy Butler, Frank Winters, Andre Rison. The list goes on and on.
Antonio Freeman,
Robert Brooks. I mean, we could go on and on. Right?
Gilbert Brown, Santana Dotson.
You still talk to a lot of these guys.
Those guys last night until 1 o'clock in the morning. That's why I'm probably a little tired this morning. But it's always great to see those guys. I spent a lot of time in the locker rooms with Leroy and Gilbert and Santana. So it's always nice to get a chance to interface with those guys again.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of us who remember that particular Super Bowl, you all remember Reggie White running around the field with that trophy over his head. I mean, that's a great memory. And now that we've lost Reggie, those memories you'll cherish for a lifetime, I'm sure.
Most definitely, because I met Reggie White, I think it was April the 6th, 1993. Reggie passed away December 26th. This past December was 9 years ago already that Reggie passed away. And he was a guy that really came in and transformed our locker room. The Green Bay Packers thought they was getting a good leader, but they really got a great leader. And he really changed the locker room, and we followed him. And we followed him to the promised land and was able to go to 2 Super Bowls. You're talking about a kid that grew up in a very impoverished area in North Carolina, saying I had a dream that I love to play on the biggest stage in the world, and to be able to come to the Green Bay Packers, having a chance to come to Wisconsin. I remember the first time I came to Milwaukee back in 1992. We were playing games still here in the city
County
of Milwaukee.
Stadium.
Right. Yeah. And it was a dream come true for me. And Reggie White, helped all that to come to fruition. I miss him, I love him, and I'm still, every chance I get, I try to talk about Reggie, because not only did he mean so much to me, it meant so much to the community of Wisconsin and the Packer organization.
Absolutely. I think you speak for a lot of the fans that are here. Definitely all of the guys that we watched in those particular years, they really do go down in history as one of the greatest teams to ever play together.
I think so, because, the Packer organization was on with Lombardi and all the great teams that he had, there was a period of time that we kind of took a dip for about 20-something years. And Coach Holmgren and Ray Rose and Coach Sherman,
yeah.
all of them. You know, we had a chance to put some good teams together with some good coaches, and we had a chance to win a lot of ball games.
That's what it's all about. And speaking of Super Bowls, you played your final season with the Seattle Seahawks, and who, of course, just won their first Super Bowl against Denver. Tell us, were you screaming at the TV, rooting for them to win? What were your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Green Bay Packers is my favorite team. And,
good answer.
you know, of course. And the Seattle Seahawks is my second favorite team. And I'm so proud of the organization that they were able to win a championship.
Absolutely.
The first time in the history of the organization. You know, so I'm proud of them. I'm happy.
Absolutely, and I wouldn't expect you to say anything less.
Right.
So you finished your career at the age of 32, and he's a bad boy. 720 tackles, 9 sacks, 5 interceptions, all of that in 128 games. You like to hear me say those stats, right?
Well, when you rattle those stats off, I really can't believe it.
Wow.
You know, because sometimes I pinch myself. Because I really, truly didn't believe it was going to come true. You know, growing up in a single-parent household, just having the belief and the faith and the dreams that I could do it. Mm-hmm. I could graduate from college. I could, you know, play for a Super Bowl. I really didn't think it could happen, but it did happen. But I put forth a lot of time and effort, and so I'm really proud of what I was able to accomplish. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't have done any of those things if it wasn't for my teammates. I was just a part of a great organization with a lot of outstanding football players, and I just played my role to the fullest.
Yes, and it is all about a team effort, and whenever you can leave a game and still see those guys and get warm, fuzzy feelings and be able to bring back that same camaraderie that you had in the locker room, that truly is what it's all about.
Most definitely, because football has done so much for me. It was part of my identity. It gave me confidence. It gave me a sense of purpose. So to be able to share that with the guys that we talked about a little while ago is just, it's outstanding.
Yes, and it's interesting. You said that football helped give you your identity and all of the things that really helped shape you into being the man that you are. When you were retiring from the game, a lot of people here may not know that you did have some thoughts of suicide because you really didn't know what direction you wanted to go into next. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I look at a lot of guys when they leave the game. In my story, you know, I started playing football when I was 9 years old. Mm-hmm. I played until I was 32. So I had about 23, 24 years playing a sport. And when I lost that identity, I thought that, you know, that was George, but I'm much, much more than that. And I had some ideas of, you know, taking my life, but I didn't do it. I wasn't able to make that happen. I'm happy to be here, but that propelled me to write my dissertation. That propelled me to do the whole book on Is There Life After Football? Because a lot of times when you leave any type of sport or career, you're wondering what's next, what's my purpose. Yeah. And I look at a lot of my peers, like a Junior Seau, who came out of Southern Cal when I was coming out of East Carolina back in 1990. He took his life. A guy by the name of Terry Long, who went to East Carolina. He's the reason why I went to East Carolina, but after his playing days was done, he took his life because they felt like that was their whole identity. They didn't have a purpose in life, but I was able to have an outstanding wife who said, George, we can't reinvent who you are, we can redefine who you are. And it worked out for me, and I immersed myself into school, and I was able to go on and get a PhD from Marquette University. So I'm just happy I'm still here. I just want to make a difference. I want to continue to write and speak about, you know, what happened in my life, because depression is real. Yeah. Depression is real.
It is, and I'm glad that you're so open to talk about that. I do want to mention all the great things that you went on to do. You spent 2 years as an assistant athletic director for development, earning your master's degree in sports management from your alma mater, East Carolina. You then served in the front office with the Packers as the director of player development for a year, and then you made strides as the senior associate director of athletics at Marquette University, and pursued your PhD. So I would say he figured out real quick what was next after football.
Well, I think whenever you have going through any type of storm or you have some challenges, you need a support staff, and I have that.
All right.
And I have an outstanding church that I go to here locally. I go to Holy Redeemer Institutional Church of God in Christ. I have an outstanding pastor, Bishop Daniels, and I have an outstanding family that I'm a part of. I'm a long ways from home. I'm about 1,300 miles away from North Carolina, but I have a family away from my real family, and I'm happy to be in Wisconsin. I came to Wisconsin when I was 23 years old, and I've been in Wisconsin longer than any other place in my life. So
yeah, that's the same for me. Yeah,
this is home. This is home for me, and I'm happy to be here. And I'm just happy for the people of Wisconsin to welcome me into their family, into their homes. So I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're happy to have you here, and we're going to talk more about what's in his book, Is There Life After Football, and discuss the serious matter that has caused the NFL to settle claims brought by thousands of former players. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more with Dr. George Koonce right after this. Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. If you're just joining us, we're at CW18 and My 24's Family Fest 2014 at Southridge Mall, where hundreds have come out to enjoy free activities for the entire family. There are several celebrities who are also a part of the excitement, and one of them is here with us now, former Green Bay Packer and Super Bowl champion. Give it up for him, Dr. George Koonce.
Thank you, Andrea.
And I have to know, what's it like to hear people call you Dr. Koonce?
It's weird. It's weird. Especially, because I had no idea when I was growing up in North Carolina that I would go on to receive a PhD.
That's awesome.
I had dreams of playing in the National Football League, but to receive a PhD, that's
quite an accomplishment, indeed. And we talked before the break some of the things that you had an opportunity to do after football, working with your alma mater, the Packers, and then going on to work with Marquette. But you were also introduced as the director of athletics at UW-Milwaukee in 2009, and later you resigned after losing your beautiful wife to breast cancer. So you also probably have a testimony when it comes to breast cancer awareness as well.
Most definitely, I'm going down to Kenosha tonight to participate in a breast cancer awareness ball, because Tanisha, she was diagnosed with breast cancer at 35 years old. She was 6 months pregnant with our son at the time, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. Our son came probably about 8 weeks early. He was cancer-free. But she fought that deadly disease for about 3.5 years and passed away. So it was a very difficult time for me and my family. Tanisha died at 38 years old. That's very, very young for anyone to pass away. But it devastated me and my family to lose someone like that. So it was
absolutely.
tough.
I think we could all understand, but none of us can fully understand what it feels like to go through that. So thank you for sharing that. And you actually completed your dissertation at Marquette. You called it Role Transition of National Football League Retired Athletes, a Grounded Theory Approach. That is now in a book entitled, Is There Life After Football? We need to talk about this because everybody knows about the glory of winning out there on the turf or, the grass, whatever they're playing on the field. But there's a whole nother side to the game that people really don't get. So a 1989 study of former NFL players revealed that 62% of those surveyed reported leaving football with permanent injuries. You, of course, wore number 53, tackled players hundreds of times as a linebacker. We want to know, do you suffer any injuries associated with your playing days?
Oh, most definitely. I have chronic pain every day from playing football. I had 7 surgeries when I played the sport for over 24 years. So it takes its toll on you. I don't think the human body is meant to play football. But it's a great sport. Americans love it. It's a part of our fabric. Football brings families together. I think it's awesome for our youth to play football. But we have to be careful because there are studies coming out with the concussions, and I think you might want to talk about that a little bit later as well.
Absolutely.
Well, we look at players like Brett Favre, who early in his career, he was playing in pain and became addicted to prescription drugs. And in recent years, a number of players, like you mentioned, Junior Seau, who made headlines after taking his own life, shot himself in the chest because he wanted his brain to be able to be researched because of the pain that he was living with.
Right.
Your thoughts on that?
It's just a travesty to have someone like a Junior Seau, outstanding individual, community-oriented. I think Junior Seau's foundation raised over $5-6 million out there in the San Diego area, in which he gave back to the community. It's just outstanding. But, from the concussions and the pounding, he felt like he couldn't go on. And we have to do some things because we don't want those 6 or 7 million young boys that's playing Pop Warner and youth football to go on to high school and go on to college and go on to the pros, that they would take their lives. We want to make sure that the sport is safe and that we take care of those young boys.
That's why you putting this book out so very important in helping to change the way things are seen and done. So it was ironic that the same day that Junior Seau took his life, you turned in your dissertation.
Right, and that was completely, it caught me off guard. It was devastating to get that type of report. Because Junior Seau and I came into the league together. I watched him play on Sundays. I was very proud of him. I looked up to him because he was an outstanding football player.
Yes, I think a lot of people would agree with that. In 2013, just last year, the NFL announced it would pay $765 million to settle claims brought by thousands of former players who accused the league of concealing a link between football and traumatic brain injury. But not every player who suffered concussions is actually going to benefit from this, right?
Right, and I think right now the judge that is overseeing the case have a stay. It's on hold because she feels as though that it's not enough money to service all the players, because there's about 18,000 former players, and about 4,000 put their name on the lawsuit. So we'll see. I know there's a lot of players that are really hurting. One of my former teammates, a guy by the name of Jim McMahon that I played with in Green Bay, he came over from the Chicago Bears. And he's probably around 52 years old. He has dementia right now. So it's a bad situation.
Yeah, it is. And you have greats like Brett Favre, Tony Dorsett, Terry Bradshaw, Harry Carson. They all admit that concussions have affected their lives. Right. So this is something that definitely needs to be contended with. It's clear that most players are done playing by the age of 28. But what a lot of people may not know is that the average life expectancy for retired players is between the ages of 53 and 59.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. It's tough.
Scary.
It's scary, and I don't think a lot of people realize the dangers that you put yourself in every Sunday.
Yeah.
That a football player go out there and play a sport that we all love and admire and cheer for.
And when you say that, between the ages of 53 and 59, you don't get your NFL retirement until what, 57?
57 years old.
Hello, so you get 2 checks, maybe 2 years of retirement, and you may not be able to enjoy it because of some of the injuries that they are living with on a continuous basis.
Right. Also, too, to be a vested veteran in the retirement plan, you have to put in 4 years in the National Football League, and the average player plays 3.5 years. So,
wow.
So there's things in place that hurts the players, but we have to do a better representation coming from our union, taking care of our players' needs and challenges.
Well, it seems like back in the day watching football, not even back in the day, just a few years ago, that referees or maybe your team doctors would put fingers in front of you and ask you how many fingers do you see, and if you gave the right number, then you were right back out there in the game. That's not really what's happening these days. Are they doing some different type of tests?
Yes, they're doing some different type of tests on the sideline, and if you have a concussion, there's a protocol that you have to go through, and I think now if you receive a concussion, there's probably around 6 or 7 days that you have to go without playing the sport.
Well, that's a start. That is a start.
Back when I played, you get a little woozy. They say, okay, George, do you know where you at? And I'm like, yeah.
How many fingers?
How many fingers do I have?
Yeah.
You're good. You can go back out there. But they've changed that.
Yeah, and that's good to know, yes. Now, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, he wrote an open letter to roughly 10 million fans last October saying that although the league maintains an unwavering commitment to player health, professional football will remain the hard-hitting physical sport that you love. So there's a tug of war there that you want to keep players safe, but we still want that hardcore, see helmets hit type of action.
Yes, but I think the NFL is going to try to take the head out of the game. They don't want to see players leading with their helmet, hitting other players in the head. So we're going to see how that goes. I know there was a 23% decrease in concussions this year compared to last year. So we're on the right track.
On the right track. So there are a lot of parents out here in the audience. So I'm just going to ask you your opinion. Should parents of little leaguers be concerned with how the game of football is played from this point on?
I think so. I think you'd be foolish if you wasn't concerned, especially with all the different reports coming out. I have a little 7-year-old son that a lot of people ask me all the time, George, would you let your son play football? Yes, but I will be concerned.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that he has the right coaches teaching him the right techniques, because I don't want him to get hurt.
Absolutely. Even President Obama has been quoted as saying if he had a son, he'd have to think long and hard before he let him play. So very interesting indeed. A lot of rhetoric surrounding this subject matter for sure. We've got a couple of minutes left. Let's talk about the aspect of retirement. Your book is Their Life After Football. Many players go through their lives being praised and recognized for their outstanding or extraordinary skills on the field. But when that ends, many of them don't really know what to do next. We're seeing a lot of players get the opportunity to go into broadcasting, but there's only so many jobs. And let's face it, not all players are articulate to actually be able to talk about the game where everybody else understands it. You know what I mean? Like, you can play the game and you understand it, but you have to have a certain skill to go into broadcasting. So what would you say to individuals? You've visited combines and you've been on the board with the NFL. What advice do you have to players on what they need to do to be ready to retire from the game?
Well, I've talked to over 5,000 former players, and all of them believe that they're going to play 10 years or more. But in all actuality, you're going to play 3.5 years.
Wow.
So what you have to do is you have to start thinking about your transition the day you come into the sport. NFL, a lot of people say it's an acronym for not for long.
Not for long. I've heard guys say that.
And you have to truly believe that. And you have to find your passion outside of football, because it's truly a game. And at some point it's going to go away. And then you have to live the real life in reality. So I just ask that guys look into the heart, and they can do both.
Absolutely, and I think you're a great example of what it means to be a student athlete and why that's so important early on. So thank you so much for being here with us today. The book is Their Life After Football. I believe it's going to be available in 2 months?
Let's say 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months. We'll keep you up to date. Mr., or I should say Dr. George Koonce. Thank you so much.
Pleasure to be here.
Of course, former Green Bay Packer and Super Bowl champion. Again, the book is entitled Is There Life After Football? A very interesting read indeed. A special thank you to our friends here at Southridge Mall for their help in making CW18 and My24 Family Fest a great success, and we thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. Please join us again next week as we take another look at our issues, Milwaukee. Have a great day.